What's going on, everyone? Happy Sunday to everyone. Hopefully everyone is doing well, staying safe, healthy. If you had to take a COVID test, hopefully you have tested negative. If you did test positive, I hope you have a full and speedy recovery with no long COVID issues. It's time now for the Sunday edition of the Pandemic Update for Sunday, October 15th, 2023. You might notice today we're coming to you from a different location. As you can see here, we're coming from a cemetery today. Why am I at a cemetery today? Well, that's because I came to visit my deceased relatives on my dad's side of the family. My grandmother that had Alzheimer's and dementia. She passed away 9 years ago. That anniversary comes up in just a couple weeks. My grandfather's here. And an aunt, which would be my dad's sister, who actually died of diabetes back in, I believe this was 2004. So, the moral of today's pandemic update is please do not take each day for granted. You don't know when someone's life could suddenly be changed, and we don't know how much longer we have to live on this earth. Let's get through a few news notes first, then we'll get more on that. First off, Andy Bean, who was an 11-time PGA Tour winner, has sadly died at 70 years old. He did have coronavirus. Then he had post-lung complications, and unfortunately, he had to have a double lung transplant, and he did not make it. He died at 70 years old. Additionally, I just saw this about an hour ago. Illinois has reported its first case of measles in 4 years. Yes, for the first time in 4 years, there is a measles case being reported in Illinois. And we have seen this happen a few times over this past year around the country. We saw, the one that really comes to mind is there was a case up in Maine a few months ago. And there's several reasons why this is happening. The biggest one is being, back at the start of the pandemic, a lot of people, mainly children, missed their vaccinations because we just didn't know what was going on. We didn't feel it was safe to go places, safe to go in healthcare. People missed vaccines. And now, of course, ever since the COVID vaccine got so politicized, it's spilling over into other vaccines now. So people are not getting their tuberculosis shots, measles shots, whatever vaccines there are out there. You know, the childhood vaccines that you get when you're a kid. A lot of people are not getting that, and unfortunately, from time to time, we see cases of this pop up. We also see cases of stuff pop up because COVID can impact our immune systems. And it makes this stuff transmit easier, or it's easier for the person to obtain one of these viruses, and that's not a good thing. So we need to be careful. We need to continue masking everywhere. And you're going to hear me say this again in today's video. Also, yesterday we mentioned about Mpox during the wastewater update, how we saw 3 detections of Mpox in Sacramento area. Well, it turns out San Francisco now reports that they did see an increase in Mpox cases during the month of September. And we suspect that that may happen, not just there, but in a few places, because there were detections of Mpox cases back in September in various different wastewater sites throughout the country. So it's something that's still out there. I have not seen any for October yet. Will we see any for October? I don't know, but you know, we have wastewater detection. That wastewater scan website is a fantastic tool, and we can use it to help find where there are Mpox cases. We're entering cold and flu season, and yes, COVID, which has no season. COVID is all year round. It can go up whenever it wants to go up, and it doesn't have to be a national rise. It doesn't have to be a state rise. It can be right down to a city, community, maybe right down to your block. You know, if there's COVID on your block, say someone has COVID, and then someone else on your block interacts with that person. Oh, I'm going to be the hero. I'm going to check on Mr. Johnson to make sure he's okay. Did you do it wearing a mask? Did you? You have to wear a mask if you're going to do that stuff, or else you can get it without knowing that you got it, and then spread it to someone else on your block, and suddenly your entire block is having a major COVID outbreak. It happens. So, I mean, if you're going to check on a neighbor or someone you know who has COVID, please do it using precautions. Again, using these N95 masks. And you know what? If you're going to do it in masking, make sure if you're going to see someone that has COVID, maybe to check on them to make sure they need anything. One of the great things you can do is, if they're able to, leave the stuff outside the house. Now, if it's an elderly person, they can't go outside, and you have to go in with a mask on, make sure you have a brand new N95 mask. Not an old one, but a new one. And make sure you have a tight fit on yourself to keep yourself safe. All right, let's get back to why we're coming to you from the cemetery today. The COVID pandemic, it hit all of a sudden back in 2020. And it teaches us a valuable lesson. It teaches us that, back in 2019, everything was fine and normal. Then like a light switch. Because let's face it, the majority of people didn't really understand what was going on until about March of 2020. And then when everything suddenly closed, I know that was my turning point. I was like, whoa, things are really changing. This is serious. Life is short. One day everything can be fine and dandy. The next minute, something can happen. We can suddenly lose a loved one. It could be a heart attack. It could be they suffer illness. It could be they contract COVID, and then that develops into long COVID, and their life is forever changed. Please. We may all have differences with each other. We may all have different feelings about each other. Maybe it's someone you don't get along with. Make sure you continue to care for them. Love for them. No matter how bad things get, make sure you are always there for them. Because you know what? Life can change like that. One minute you could be arguing and, maybe things aren't great, but the next day you could lose that person. And you may regret those things. And guess what? You can't go back because it's too late. So please, no matter how rough things are, make sure you live each day to the fullest by, masking, by using precautions, and make sure at the end of the day, you split your differences and you show how much you love one another. Your family members, your friends, whoever it is. Please just live each day safely. And remember that life is short. This pandemic has changed lives big time. We are now approaching 1.2, maybe 1.3 million, just in the United States, deaths of COVID. There have been 20, maybe 30 million deaths of COVID around the world. And that's a huge undercount. We don't know what the real number is. If I had to suspect, it's at some point, it's going to pass 50 million deaths around the world. It's just going to. I mean, it's out there. It's not going away. We're not doing anything to mitigate it. And COVID leads to post-COVID complications. So at any moment, someone could have a medical emergency. We're just seeing it happen so frequently, which is why you need to care for one another. Maybe it's a relative you haven't spoken to in a while. Get on the phone. Give them a phone call. Say hello. See how they are doing. Show them that you care, because you know what? Like I have said several times, life is short. Time is short. You don't want to wait until it's too late and then have regrets. Okay? Alrighty, things to look for this week. Of course, we'll continue to have pandemic updates this week. We have not done our staffing shortage video in a while, and I think we're going to do that at some point this week. I've done a little bit of research. I'm going to obviously do some more for it. And, staffing shortages are still out there. Despite the fact that they say jobs are being created, this and that, there are several industries out there that still need help and are dealing with staffing shortages. And we are seeing some really terrible things happen because of staffing shortages, especially in prisons, where we're seeing, people are escaping because, well, there's these staffing shortages that are continuing to go on, and protocols are not being done correctly because they don't have the manpower to do it. Additionally, right now, we're not in a rising wave. As you know, COVID cases are dropping. I don't think that's going to happen much longer. I've seen several of these, quote, I guess you could say experts, or people that tend to be accurate on predicting what's going to happen with COVID, say that November is going to be the turning point, and that's when the winter wave is going to start up. Makes sense. Halloween is going to be a super spreader. We know it will. So post-Halloween, we're likely to see cases start to go up again. I don't even want to call this a law right now. Do not take it as a law. Again, I've said this several times today. Mask everywhere you go. Just because cases are dropping, remember what I told you. It can go right down to your community, your street that you live on. You know, one case can turn into 2. 2 plus 2 equals 4. 4 plus 4 equals 8. It multiplies. This virus multiplies. So I don't care that, there's a little bit of drop. It's peaked right now. No. Transmission's still high. If you didn't see the wastewater update video yesterday, it's the video just before this. And a large number of wastewater sites sprinkled throughout the country are still at high levels of COVID, which means if you're in a high level area, doing risky activities means you could easily catch a case of COVID. So, all right, guys, that's all I really have for today. Again, love one another, take care of one another, have respect for each other. If you have differences with someone, maybe it's a family member, try and set them aside. Life is short. My aunt, when she passed away of diabetes, she was only 50 years old. I lost her way too soon. She would be, I think technically she would be turning 70 or 69 this year, 70 next year. Life's short. We lose people, unfortunately, sometimes at a young age. So again, just love one another. I will see you all again next time. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more content like this, subscribe to my channel down below. And if you know anyone that needs to see this fantastic content that I put out, by all means, share this with them. I will see you all again next time for another edition of the Pandemic Update. Until I see you next time, stay safe, everyone, and have a fantastic Sunday afternoon. Bye-bye.